of us might not know what I mean by cellular inflammation. So I'm going to try to give a description of what I mean by that, because that's going to come up a lot in this discussion. And maybe you do know, but maybe you don't, but I'm still going to cover it. It's not the classical inflammation that you would be referring to that would generate an inflammatory response and it would be associated with pain, right? Like you think sprain an ankle, broke a bone, that kind of thing. It's a type of cellular inflammation which is below the perception of pain. And it's really the initiating cause of chronic disease because it disrupts our hormonal signaling networks throughout our body, which are, that's the deal on optimum health, is that you need to keep your hormonal signaling and your modulators and all your cellular responses at the top of their game. And inflammation is going to interrupt. And how do you get inflammation in your body? So, since I told you it is not the same as associated with pain, it's associated with diet. Okay, so that's the beginning of how to understand what cellular inflammation is and why omegas will be an important part of that. So you want to, in increasing the activity of balancing cellular inflammation is going to open up the gene transition. So that's that hormonal signaling. So the diet can either turn on or it can turn off. And the particular activity, we're just going to give it a name because it. Sometimes you're going to eventually get used to me giving things a name. This is a NRF3. You've heard, maybe some of you heard me talk about NRF. They actually call this NRF question mark. But that's too much. So I'm going to call it NRF3 when I refer to that activity. Okay. And anti-inflammatory nutrition is based on the ability of certain nutrients to reduce the activity of this gene, okay? So when you follow an anti-inflammatory diet, coupled with simultaneous lowering of omega-6s, you can get omega-3s to be activated. Now, why am I mentioning omega-6? Because this new American diet has included such high levels of omega-6, and omega-6, when it becomes higher than omega-3, it'll negate omega-3. Now, where is omega-6? It's in your, it's in all fast food. It's in processed food. It's in instant food. It's in frozen food. It's in crackers.
Why is that? Is that something that they actually add, or is it something that happens within the process of?
Well, it's not that they're adding omega-6, but in order to stabilize these foods and preserve them, the ingredients are including omega-6. So if you want, like Elena's famous hamburger from McDonald's, which she brings and she's had for umpteen million years, and it looks exactly like it did when they put it in the box. It's preserved, and some of the ingredients, besides the chemical preservatives, are ingredients that are high in omega-6. All the refined food and instant stuff. So, along with, understanding the American diet and what it's done to us, comes this one factor besides diabetes, which is also an inflammatory response. So is just about the beginning of most diseases are going to start with cellular inflammation.
Which is kind of a new concept, Rose. So I think something we don't really think about, cellular inflammation. And you can tell I've been way too long. And the important thing, Rose, I think, is that we all are made up of like 60 trillion cells. And if those cells start getting inflamed, that's where disease comes. So it's a relatively new concept.
It is very new.
Yes.
It's really just been looked at. It's being looked at very seriously right now, but it's just because of a lot of clinicals and that have come to the surface after years of research. So it is new, and the reason it's being looked at is because the American diet has changed so much, and doctors that do care, instead of just prescribing a pill or a medicine for whatever new disease is in their office, are wondering why. And so they are looking really a lot at this inflammation and how to improve. And they're changing their minds a lot also about how much omega-3 is enough. Because they are finding that more is becoming better. They're seeing 8,000 IUs as a realistic number, when last year when I did this research they were seeing 2,500 IUs as a reasonable amount. So that's even changed quite a bit. What would you say? Do you look so serious?
I was just checking out your videos.
Yeah. I try not to look serious, but I end up looking at these videos. It drives me nuts because I take this stuff so seriously, and I'm not generally that personality. So take that serious look off my face.
Rose, do you think the 8,000 is as a result of the amount of fast foods, so we've had to up the amount of omega-3s?
It is.
Just to keep the balance there.
It is, and it's also because not only fast food. Don't forget how many people just think that they can buy something. Talk to you a little bit about a third dietary approach, because there is a synergy between omegas and antioxidants. So the approach with the upping your either dietary omega, which you can get some in food, such as salmon, mackerel, and herring, but we don't eat mackerel and herring like they did in the past. It was really, I remember my grandfather eating that stuff. I couldn't believe it. So gross. It's like, really? We're not used to it anymore. And it was a delicacy, to sit down and eat mackerel and herring, pickled herring. Yeah. So,
Yum.
And salmon, is still on our list. And then there's flax, and there's there are other omegas. It's just you have to eat an awful lot to get it without supplementing. And to eat high levels of salmon, then you have to look at, you've got high levels of mercury and PCBs if you're not careful. Where you don't really ever want to buy farm-raised salmon. You don't ever want to buy what they call Atlantic salmon, because one serving of that a week, and you've got quite a high level of mercury and PCBs in your diet. So let's get back to this third dietary approach with omegas, is the polyphenols. So the polyphenols are found in the fruits and vegetables of color. And the high levels, or the powerful antioxidant of this, is in synergy and can inhibit the activation of what I just said was NRF3. Polyphenols with omegas can inhibit that, even if you didn't have your suit of armor on and your body was a little high in omega-6. That synergy between polyphenols and omegas can be very powerful. So, of course, we have supplements in polyphenols. That's the Vivix that you'll get to taste today. But also you're looking at foods and vegetables of color, and to inhibit that activation.
Is there a test for that? Can you be tested for?
Well, that's a really great question, because the most common test for inflammation in your body would be what they call C-reactive protein, or CRP. Well, that is a great test, and I think everybody should know their CRP number. However, that number is produced in your body, in your liver. By the time that number shows up high on the chart in your blood test, you have already for years been in inflammation. So yeah, you do want that number, and at this time they have no test for any other cellular inflammation besides that. So it's a little too late by the time that number's high. If you get a high CRP number, though, you really want to address